So this is the injury analysis dashboard we created just a couple of days ago, and as you can see, this dashboard looks really, really amazing. So the dashboard seeks to extract some insight from our injury classification log. All right, so we're trying to do a comparative analysis of workplace injury by incident types, by injury types, by gender, by department, by body part, and by age group. And we have this amazing slicer that we can actually use to filter the dashboard, and as you can see, this is really, really dynamic. So we have all of these beautiful charts that we use, not the usual conventional chart that you know, this is unconventional. So I'm going to be showing you how we created all of these visuals right now. All right, so I'm going to be giving a step-by-step guide on how we created this dashboard. Now we did this dashboard based on this data set. So this is a structured data set. There isn't much data to clean except that we need to do some additional calculation within a calculated column. So we have the date over here, we have the employee name, we have the gender, we have the age group, we have the department, the injury type, the incident type, it was there severity, we're going to be changing that, and then we have the body part that was injured, the lost days, depending on the type of incident, whether the person didn't have to report to work and all of that, and we have the underlying cost. So what we did was that we created a calculated column where we grouped the age into groups. So it had to be like an age group to have a reasonable data point for our bar chart, as you can see over here. So that's actually a column chart that we used, and then we literally loaded it into Power Query and all of that. So without wasting time, I'm just going to be diving into exactly how we managed to come out with this dashboard. But before we get into that, I just want to quickly introduce you guys to our data community. So we have a data community where you can connect with a lot of SAFE professionals who are very, very passionate about data. And over there, that's why we throw a challenge to ourselves. They want to create a dashboard every week. All right. So this project is actually based on the project we did, or we were supposed to be doing last week, but we missed the opportunity to do that. So we're going to be doing that again this week. So you want to be part of this project and ask all the questions you want to ask, then do well to join our community. All you need to just click here. All right. I'm going to be leaving this link in the description. Now, we also have a data academy where we can teach you how to use a lot of data tools, and we can pay extra attention to your need, giving you all the time you need to catch up, right? So the advantage of being in a one-on-one class. So this is actually strictly based on one-on-one coaching over a 7-day period. So we are allocating 14 hours for coaching, right? And this is not based on any training calendar. It is simply training on demand at your own schedule. And that is really, really important, because the fact is that when you're learning data tools with all of these complex calculations that you're supposed to be doing, you don't have time to be part of a group and you have a special need. It's better you actually jump on a one-on-one session with us so that we can really explain into details exactly what you're supposed to be knowing. All right, so that's pretty much the structure of this course. You can get into it and understand exactly what we do and all of that. Okay, so we have a basically project that we've been building over the past few weeks. So we started in week 1 where we did the Excel and we did a Power BI version, and we have done the injury analysis dashboard. Okay, next week we're probably going to be doing the Power BI version. So we do Excel and Power BI version. All right, so without wasting time, let's head over to our data set. So we're not going to be working with this. We're going to close this because we need to start from scratch, right? So that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We have it in our folder. So I'll just locate our tutorial folder, and now that is project 3. All right, so we're going to open this data set. Okay, so as you can see, this doesn't have any other sheets in there. So it's literally, a raw data that we have. We're going to be doing some data cleaning. So what we're going to do first and foremost is to make sure that we load this into Power Query. If you want to do some data cleaning, we can probably start from here, but I don't really want to waste time here. So let's just get data, right? So go to data, get data from table. So it's going to convert this to an Excel table, and it's going to load to the query editor. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to rename this, because we want to call it our source data. And then we're going to take our time to see if there are some errors that we need to fix. So the dates is already in the correct date format. It's already in the correct date format, you can see. Now we've checked the valid, the column quality 100% and 100 distinct values, 100 unique values. So each of them are appearing just once, which is very good. And then we have all these employee names. There are no error percentages or anything. There's one unique, which means that all of them are appearing. We have 20 distinct and one unique. So let's see what's happening with the unique. That means that all of them have appeared many times, and there's only one that has appeared once, which is just fine. So that's okay. Gender, all of them are distinct. They're just 2 distinct, no unique. That means all of them keep repeating. And then we have the age. So the age as well, we have 17 distinct, and all of them have repeated many times, with 2 that are just unique, which means they have appeared just once. That's okay. So literally all of this section, you have 0 unique, 0 unique, 0 unique, so 7 distinct. So what it means is that there are no issues with our data set. So everything is okay. All right. So what we are going to do is that we want to make sure that the data point, because let's go back and look at our KPI or the instruction for this project. Sorry, I didn't show you guys that. All right. So let's head over here and let's have a look at this project. We are going to be doing injury analysis dashboard project, and basically we're trying to answer these questions. What are the total injuries recorded? What are the total loss days? What are the percentages that are due to unsafe acts and conditions? What are the types of incidents that are resulting in injuries? What are the most common injury types? What departments are recording the most lost days? Which body parts are mostly injured? What is the percentage contribution of each body part? What is the injury breakdown by gender? And what is the injury breakdown by age? So we're going to be doing injury breakdown by age, and unfortunately there's way too many data points. You have 17 distinct, which means that you're going to have 17 data points if you're trying to plot a bar chart or a column chart or whatever. All right. So the best thing we're going to be doing is that we're going to group this age. So grouping this age, we come to add column and go to conditional column. So conditional column is going to give us opportunity to create some if statements, right? So we're saying that if the age, so we could select but we're going to name this, we're going to call it age group. All right. And I'm going to say that if it is greater than or equal to 50. So whenever you are creating conditional columns, we need to start with it has to be in order, in descending order, starting from the highest, right? From the highest. So if the age is greater than, or equal to 50, it should give us above 50. And we're going to add another column. And we're saying that if the age group is greater than or equal to 40, it should give us 40 to 49. We add another argument, which is if age is greater than or equal to 30, it should give us 30 to 39. And then we are saying that if the else, like the alternative or else, it should give us 20 to 29. So that's pretty much the various distribution of age that we have. We don't have anything below 19. Of course, you're supposed to be scanning through our data set, but I sort of know already, so I didn't have to scan through. But when we go into our data sets and we click on the filter, you notice that the least age is 23. So we are good with 20 to 29. So that is exactly what we've created here. The age groups we have, so 41 falls within 40 to 49, 29 falls within 20 to 29. So that tells us we are correct with our age group. All right, so that is pretty much it. All right, so let's go back to our analysis or our project requirement and understand a few things. So we're going to know what's the total recorded injuries? What is the total loss days? What is the percent of unsafe acts and conditions? These are all going to be scalar values, one-time value that we're going to be generating, which is just a sum of, the column. So these are just what we can use as KPI cards. What type of incidents are causing the most injury? This is going to be a bar chart or a column chart or whatever. So we are going to look at what we could potentially use as filters within our dashboard. And from the dashboard that we already shared, we use just department as filter. So let's go back to our, query editor and create another table. All right, so we could choose to reference or duplicate. The difference between duplicate and reference is the fact that duplicate sort of create an independent table that does not change, but reference table will sort of be changing based on the changes that happen in the source data. So let's just duplicate for now. Okay, if you have any knowledge to share about what the difference between duplicate and the reference, you can share that in the description or in the comment below, right? Let's call that department. That is the only slicer that we're going to be using. So we're going to use it as dimension table. So let's filter out remove the other columns, remove other columns, and then let's remove the duplicates over here. So we have just 4 distinct values and 4 unique values. All right, so that's all we need, and I'm going to just load. All right, so there's just load, just click on load 2. All right, now we're gonna load one to table and we're gonna load the other to the data model. So all of them can go into the data model. Unfortunately, we have 2 sort of tables, so we cannot just load one after the other. So we're going to do all of them together. So we say load to a table, which means that we want to make sure we have a tabular version right within the workbook. And then we want to also add it to the data model. So we click on OK. And that's going to create some additional sheet, right? So we have the source data, which is the clean data fact table, right? That we named we renamed and we cleaned up. We created all the categories of or the various grouping for age, and we have the department. But what we're going to do is we're going to click on here and we say load this again to, and we say we want connection only. We don't want it in tables. So we click OK, and that's going to remove this from the worksheet, right? So we're going to delete this, and we have just this. Now the reason why I want to keep this is just for us to explain to our users that this is the clean data we use for the dashboard. Sometimes they're not very good with Power Query and they wouldn't know how to get onto Power Query and all of that. So we just want them to see this, and then we're going to be hiding them eventually anyway. We're going to be hiding it, all right? So this is the original template data set and everything, but this is actually the clean data set. So this one could be hidden at some point when we are giving it out, okay? Now the next thing we're going to be doing is that we head over to Power Pivot. We come to Manage, and then we're going to create our calendar table, because we're going to be creating a calendar table, which is very, very important because we could be doing a trend of the incident. We're going to use a visual for that. So let's just come to, design, and we come here and say date table. Now the interesting thing about date table is the fact that it's going to look at the starting date within our fact table or within our data set, and it's going to populate the starting date all the way to the last date in sequence. So there's going to be every single day from 1st, 2nd, 3rd of January up until December 31st, or wherever the data ends. So I think the data ends in April or something, but let's just go with it. All right, so let's now establish the relationship. So just go to manage relationship, or we don't want to do that. We come to the home, we come to diagram view, right? And over here, we're just going to connect our dimension tables to the fact table. So this one is the main data set that has a lot of repeated values, a lot of values that are repeating, and for that reason it is not unique. We have many of those values in there, but these ones are unique. All of them are appearing just once, and for that reason it's just one, right? So we call it one to many. That's pretty much it. One to many. So the relationship is one to many. So depending on the direction of it. So this one could be like, it's going like this. So it's like many to one relationship, or one to many relationship. So we're going to be using this to actually filter this. All right. So that's why the direction goes like this. When you click on this, it's going to filter this. And I think we probably want to we could also click on this to filter this. So let's click on it again. We go to edit relationship, and we don't have the option to change the direction of it. So it has already been established by default by Microsoft Excel. All right, so let's just get on with this. So let's close this, and then we can, basically click on the Excel. So we save and we click on the Excel, icon, and it brings us back to Excel sheet. All right, so we can sort of close all of these prompts at the top. So we've been able to establish the relationship. We have our filter, which is the department. The next thing we're going to be doing is to insert pivot tables and start out with our calculations. So what we did earlier on is the data modeling, establishing relationship within the table, and basically all the relevant tables that are important for filtering will be registered as dimension table, and the main data set will be our fact table. All right. Now we head over to insert pivot. We come to insert and we click on pivot table, but take note, you can create pivot table from table range. That is, if you choose not to load to data model, you can actually do that with table here, which is relying on our clean data set. But we are going to be loading it from the data model because we loaded them to the data model. So we click on it and we say we want it on a new worksheet. So we click on go to new worksheet. We're going to call the worksheet analysis. Okay. So that's where we're going to be doing all the analysis. So this one is probably our data set. You should call this data set or raw data set or whatever. And this one is our source data, which is the clean data. And this one is the analysis. All right. So let's start to answer the questions that we're supposed to be answering in order to come up with the dashboard, right? So we're looking at what is the total injuries, right? So one thing you need to know is that within our, within our data sets, each column, each row is unique. I mean, each date is telling us when you go back to Power Query. Let's go back to Power Query and click on edit. Okay, we click on edit and hit OK. It takes us to the query editor, And then we have our source data. We see that we have 100 distinct, 100 unique. It simply tells us that each of the row is distinct. Within this column, at least on the date field, we can tell that each of them are unique. All of them have appeared just once. So we can confidently say that we have 100 injuries that have been registered in this injury classification log. So what it means is that our first calculation is going to be count rows. We are counting the number of rows to mean that that is the total injuries we recorded. So we come over to Power Pivot. We go to new measure. So we come to here, the measures, we click on the new measure. But if you don't have Power Pivot on your Excel workbook, you can do that. Just come to File, go to the options down here, and then come to add-ins. Come over here and click on Comms Add-in. You click on it, and then go and click on Go, and then you check it. So make sure you check it. Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel. Make sure that is checked. All right. So let's start creating our measures. We come to measures and go to new measures. All right. So the new measure you're going to be creating, take note that whenever you are creating measure, you need to know the table you are referencing, because the more you select the table, you can actually focus on the columns within that table. Other than that, then you may have to use a different function, like a related function to relate to other tables elsewhere. But over here, you want to keep things simple. So let's calculate total injuries. Now, total injuries, we are simply going to count rows in our table. What is the name of our table? The table is called source data. Just the source data, okay? And then we close parentheses. Every time we are writing a function or a measure, we need to open parentheses, write in what is important, or the measure or the various expressions that are relevant, and you close parentheses. Now, whenever you are registering a table, it's simply like, typing the name of the table. However, if you're referencing a column within the table, you need to use open brackets, close brackets. You need to use bracket, basically. So whenever we type in this, we check the formula to make sure there are no errors. And we click on number, because this is the number that we want. We don't want any decimal place. We want the whole number, and we click on it. So that's sort of, start to populate within the source data, right? So we have the source data, and take note that whenever you open the pivot field, it pops up automatically anyway. You're going to see all the tables that are sort of within the template, right? Or the sheet or the workbook. So we have the calendar table, we have the department table, we have the source table. These are all coming from the Power Query or the query editor. And these are what we have within the Excel sheet. So a lot of the analysis we're going to be doing are not going to be related to this. So sometimes the best is to just show this one in the active, make sure it shows in active tab, so that it is clear that these are the only ones you're focusing on. This is quite useful when you have a lot of tables within your sheet or your workbook. All right. So within the source data, I think I brought in the wrong one. So let's remove from active. Let's go and add the correct one. It's this one rather. So I just show this in active tab. So when we come here, the source, as you can see, there you have it. So we have the total injury already computed. So we check it, and that's it. We have 100 injuries, right? So let's go back and look at the measure, the next one that we need to calculate, which is what is the total loss days. Now the total loss days is within, let's go back to our query editor. Let's go and check the data type, right? So let's go back. Loss days is here, and it's automatically showing us number, right? So that is very good. There are instances where it could be showing as a text. And for that reason, you cannot just use a sum function on it. You need to make sure that you convert this to a number. Now, all the values in here are all numbers. For that reason, it automatically shows as numbers. So let's close and go back. So go to analysis, and we create the next measure. So we just click on the pivot table, and then we come to Power Pivot once again. But this time around, instead of new measure, we want to go to manage measure, because when we open manage measure, every time we are done creating a measure and we close, it doesn't take us back to Excel sheet. It keeps us right within this box so that we can keep creating additional measures, right? So let's go to new measure, and we calculate total loss days, right? Total loss days. So total loss days will be the sum of the column, basically. But before we can get to the column, we need to find the table first. We're going to start off with the table, which is basically the source data. Okay, this is the source data, And then we just find lost work days, right? We click on it. So if you look clearly, the table comes open brackets, lost days, and close brackets, right? So that's how you reference table. You can only reference table showing the path to where the column is. You can reference the column starting from the table to where the column is. So we check to see if there are any errors. You go to number, and then we want whole number, so there are no issues, and that's pretty much it. All right, so we could just continue, but let's see how it shows. Let's just click OK. I mean, it's gonna just, you can then click on it and it continues like this. So we have 100 injuries. Total lost days was 142. So we come to Power Pivot again, and then let's just manage measure, and then let's look at what else we need to calculate. So let's see, what is the percentage of unsafe act and condition? Okay, so this time around, we are going to look at percentage unsafe act condition. Now, there's something I could show you, but let's keep it simple. And then the second one, I'm going to show you how complex that can be. So oftentimes, or because we are learning, let's take our time and compute this. Now we have categorical data within the column. Okay, let's go back and have a look. How are we going to calculate cost of, unsafe act and conditions? Okay, so when you look in our query, or even we could have gone back to the data set anyway, underlining costs, these are all categorical data. All right, so it's more like a qualitative data, not quantitative. Every time you have quantitative data like this, we could just use the sum of the values. When it comes to qualitative or categorical, you can only count the number of occurrence of this. So we can only use the count. All right, so let's close, go back to analysis, go to Power Pivot. All right, manage measure, and let's do unsafe act. So unsafe act basically is equal to calculate. So always we use calculate to apply a filter context to our measure. So we are going to calculate and we're going to filter, all right? But before we can calculate, we need to type the expression. What are we trying to calculate? We're calculating the count of unsafe acts. So we start with the count, all right? And we look for the table. So that's the source data. Okay, source data, and we go to where we want to count. Where are we trying to count? We want to count underlining costs, and we close, because when you open parentheses here, we need to close it and we continue with the argument, all right, for calculate. We are saying that the source data underlining causes column, this underlining cause, right, underlining cause column, it should be equal to unsafe act. So we need to type exactly what it is in the cell, right? Unsafe acts, and we close. So as you can see, this parenthesis that we closed is related to calculate, right? We check and there's no error. All right, so that is the first argument. We're gonna find percentage. So instead of I could click on it. Let's do that right away. Okay, and then let's open the pivot field list. All right, pivot field, and we click on unsafe act. It's gonna populate like 53 unsafe acts, right? Of course, I didn't move the decimal, and I didn't also change the number type to whole number, data type to whole number. So let's go back again and let's manage measure, and let's continue because we're going to be continuing. All right, it was there as decimal. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to use divide. We're going to divide this whole thing with total injury. So we're going to change this again to percentage. So let's go to divide. I know what I'm doing can be a bit confusing. Divide, and this whole becomes a numerator. This whole calculation becomes a numerator divided by the denominator, which is every time you are referencing another measure, and in that case, the explicit measure. Explicit measures are measures that can be used in another measure. All right, so we've already created total injury. We could have just, if you are using pivot table, we could have just gone into pivot table field and pulled the column headers, one dead in the row column and another in the value column, and do count off. So most of the times with explicit measures, you're going to be seeing sum of count of. That is very common with pivot table. Every time you create a pivot table of any value, you're going to be seeing sum of or count of. But when it comes to explicit measures, we are using, basically the measure based on a DAX function, basically. So total injuries, I'm going to type it in there and I'm going to close parentheses, right? So basically this then changes from just unsafe act to now percentage unsafe act, okay? And then we check, there is no error. Now this is supposed to be a percentage and there's no decimal place. So we hit okay and let's see what happens. It suddenly changes to unsafe percentage unsafe act, all right? So we're going to do the same thing to unsafe condition. So what I just did is bringing a little bit of complexity. So that's like when you get very comfortable with, DAX, you can understand exactly what it is and you could just merge them, add other context to the measure that you're trying to create, right? So we're going to copy this all throughout and we're going to go to new and we're going to paste it right in there, okay? So the equal must always come whenever you're writing a measure. You're going to use the equal sign. I'm going to change this to percentage unsafe condition. I'm typing wrongly, right? Condition. And then we will change the unsafe act to now unsafe condition. And that's it. So it's the same argument. First of all, we are calculating the count of unsafe condition and we're using it as the numerator with a divide function. So then we close parentheses and we type in total injuries, which is the denominator, and we check there's no error. The number is supposed to be a number and it's supposed to be a percentage, and we don't need any decimal, so we hit OK. So that's it. We've gotten our KPI cards. If you go into our dashboard, you see that the KPI cards are just 4 of them, right? So that's what we have in there. Now let's go look at the other, answers that we need to provide, or the other questions that are there. So we're saying that what are the types of incidents resulting in an injury, right? Now, before we do that, there's one thing that we didn't do, data cleaning. So we need to go and clean the data properly. I told you that the severity is supposed to be incident type. So let's look at it. If you look, lost time injuries and incident type, first aid is an incident type, medical treatment, incidents and incident type. So it's not severity. So we could just change it to incident type. Okay. And that's it. So we just load, and that is going to show over here. So over here is going to change to incident type. There we have it. All right. So we've been able to change that. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to insert pivot table again. Or we could just copy this. We could just copy this, Control C and bring it down here, paste here, and then we open it and we uncheck these other ones and we leave this total injuries. All right. So we're going to do incident type. So check the incident type. Take note, it has to be at the value section. So the count or the total injuries or whatever is supposed to be at the value section, because we already have the value for it, and the row is going to be the incident type. So once we check, it's going to populate. So there we have it. You have first aid, lost time injury, medical treatment case. All right. So you can see this is an explicit measure, and that's how come it's there as total injuries. Other than that, it would have been there as sum of the same sort of column headers. And that is oftentimes what pivot table will give you, unless you're using Power Pivot for analysis. So in this case, we're using Power Pivot for analysis. All right. So we're going to continue with our, answering the questions. What are the common injury types? So the same count of incident or count of injuries, we're going to apply it on, injury types. So let's Control C, we paste it here, and then we open the pivot field, and then we uncheck incident type, and we go to injury type, right? So there we have it. The injury types are just burn, cut, and fracture. So we're gonna Control C again. Let's try to spread out nicely. Let's remove all the spaces that are here. Okay, try and keep everything closer. Okay, so I'll remove spaces here as well. And then I'm going to create another pivot table. Sorry, Control C, Control V. Okay. And then we're gonna now look for, what was the question again? Let's go back. Injury types already done with that. Department, which departments are recording the most? So we now go by department. Okay, so right click, show field list, and then uncheck injury types, and then go to department. So we have department in the maintenance, operations, production, and warehouse. Okay, what other question are we trying to answer? We have body parts. Body parts, all right. So let's go with department, control C, we paste it somewhere here, control V, and then we uncheck incident type and we select department. So we have for department the same total injuries, right? And then we go back again. Let me just save my work so I don't lose it. And then we want percentage contribution by body part. So we need to do body part. So percentage contribution by body part is quite important. So we just want to duplicate. Where is the body part? We didn't do body part. So let's also control C and paste in here, and then change from department to body parts. Okay, so let's go back and check body parts that are mostly injured, and then the percentage contribution by body part. So there are actually two of them. So we're going to control C again and then paste over here. All right. But this time around, we don't want just the count. We want percentage. So we can actually estimate the percentage of the grand total. And that's very simple. Just, click on the over here, right click and go to show value as percentage of grand total. So that gives us the percentage of grand total. And then we can sort of, use the the home tab and come here and just reduce the decimal places. So there we have it. So this one, we're going to use this to give a count of the various body parts that are injured. This one is going to be a chart, a bar chart. This one is going to be a bar chart. This one is going to be basically based on the data points. How many data points we have? We have 3 data points. What is the appropriate chart to use? It could be a donut chart or a pie chart. So all the lower data point, like 2 or 3, are going to be much appropriate to use, like a bar chart, donut chart, and the one that has a lot of data point, you're going to use bar charts. All right. So let's go back again and look at any other question you're supposed to be solving. And what is the injury breakdown by gender? So that is also just 2 data points. All right. Because gender is male or female. So we're just going to control C and paste this on here, and then right click and open show field list, right click and click on show field list, and then we click on gender. So just 2 data points, control C again, and I think the other one is based on age group, right? So we have our age group already created in here. So we have literally created all our sort of visuals. It's sort of pivot tables. Now we need to create the visuals. All right. But before we create the visuals, the analysis that we're going to be doing is always to create some insights even within the visuals, where you're highlighting the maximum of some of the visuals. What is the maximum of injuries by, which one is the maximum maintenance, which one is the maximum in terms of body part, which one is the maximum in terms of age groups. It gives a lot more insight for easy decision making, when at a glance people can look at the dashboard and know that a lot of work has really gone into it, and it's really, really exciting to see. All right, not just copying this and converting them into chat or whatever. All right, so what we are going to do is that we are going to make sure that we have enough spaces. But what we are going to do is I'm going to be showing you guys something that is quite interesting, which we need to all be aware of. So whenever we are creating the maximum values of this, it is always important that we introduce helper columns, because pivot table will not allow us to easily sort of combine another maximum to it. For example, if I did maximum of, let's say, if I wrote maybe another parameter here as max, and I wrote maybe the max is whatever, 57, right? 57. There's no way I could add this to create a chart. It's not possible. It will never work, right? It will never work. It will only reference what is within the pivot table. So the best practice is to use a trim function, right? A trim range. And then we, select all of this. So this gives us a spill effect. So that sort of creates another version of this, which we can use to create other helper columns for what we're planning to do. And then basically what we do is that we create a max of what is in here, all right? And then we're gonna get a max basically. But before we even do that, we need to make sure that we remove all of these grand totals. So let's just go to the design and then remove all of them. We turn it off for, both row and column. It's basically on the row column, but it doesn't really matter. Just select all of them. So let's turn it off for all. All right, and I think department is 2, so we need to remove this one. All right, and we can bring these ones up. There's another visual we didn't include, so that's gonna be the incident by month, but we're gonna do that later on. All right, so basically once we have this trim range that pulls up dynamic array of this, what it means is that once we introduce a slicer, it's gonna dynamically update. So then we can bring the highlights in here. And this is exactly what it did when we're creating the first dashboard in Excel. So but the challenge is that once we have this, we can do if this one is equal to this, it should return this very figure. All right, if not, it should return any. All right, and we need to lock this one to make it an absolute reference, and then we drag it all the way down. All right, so this is pretty much how it is. That's what we did. And once we introduce and we make this one the secondary axis, it falls on top of it, and we can then introduce different colors and everything. And once we apply this, you see what happens. We have this gap on the side. We don't want to see this gap in this dashboard that we're creating, so we want to make sure that we use the max value within the pivot table. So we want to make sure that the max value or the highlight that we're going to be interested in is within the pivot table, so that it's going to update dynamically the basically the array that is picking. If I select this, this whole array is going to be dynamic as well, but at this point it's static. And that's the reason why, even though we have this space here, in as much as we are looking at one data point, we are still capturing this space. So we want to make sure this space has been removed altogether. All right, so we are going to remove this, and we're going to now do a proper max that can then be introduced in the pivot table. All right, so that's pretty much what we're coming to do right now. Okay, so let's head over to the Power Pivot. Now we're going to introduce the max highlights for departments. We want to do that for body parts, basically the body parts injured, and then the age group. All right, so let's do that quickly. Okay, let's do that right now. Manage, we go to new measure, and we do, first of all, we're going to do max of the department. And then with this one, we are going to use the summarize function so that we can actually create a summary of the data set, focusing on the table first. So we are saying that we want to summarize the source data, particularly department, right? So the department within the source data, so that is this one. And we are saying that we want to create another column, which is department incident. Okay, that's just a column name that we are introducing. And what kind of calculation do you want within this new column? Basically count rows in the source data, right? And that is like trying to count the number of times they are occurring within the column. So we are introducing this summarize function, and what we're going to do is that we're going to use the max x. Okay, we're going to use the max x to say that we want the department that we've created, department incidents. We're going to close parentheses. So this is for the max. And then we're going to use the calculate function to now bring in basically to say that we want everything within that column, basically. So the calculates introduces a filter context where we are saying we want all the data within the source data. All right, so let's check. There's no error, right? We did it. So let's check basically how it looks. So we hit OK. So that's the max of department. Let's go and check. So let's go to our pivot field list, and then let's bring in the marks of department. So that is it right there. We have the marks of department, but we didn't change the data type. So let's go in and change the data type, manage, and go to edit, and then we say we want it as a whole number, and we don't want any decimal, right? So that's basically the max of this. So the max is production, and that's what we have here. Now we're going to use another argument, which is to sort of say that if this is equal to this, return this. If not, return blank. All right, so that's very, very simple, similar to what we did earlier. Okay, so let's go to Power Pivot. Let's come to manage, and then let's introduce the highlights. So the highlights is, we're going to say department highlights, okay, or max highlights for department. Max or department highlights. I mean, however you want to call it, department highlights or max highlights for departments, okay? We're saying that if total injury is equal to max of department, you should return max of department. If not, it should give us blank. And then we close parentheses and we check there's no error. So we want it in terms of number, and we want the whole number, and we bring it in here. So this very table, we are going to introduce the department highlight. I'm going to remove this. So that is exactly what we've done. Basically looking at what we did with the normal Excel function using the trim range. Now we've been able to introduce it with the DAX measure. So what it means is that once we plot our graph like this, okay, let's say a bar chart, right? We can now use this as a secondary axis. It falls on top of it, and then we can do our conditional formatting. So once we apply this, okay, let's connect report connection to all of the pivot tables, because eventually we're going to be doing that anyway. So once we report connection, we'll be able to now apply the filter, and we're going to get a marks showing all throughout. Okay, so the marks actually shows when we leave everything, but once we select, it doesn't show. That's something that we probably have to solve in another video, but for now, let's just focus on this. Okay, so we've been able to introduce a marks at a glance. That once the marks is, we select everything, it's going to give us the marks. Okay, so that is what we're going to be doing for all. But before we get into creating all of these other marks values, let's try to plot in our visuals. Let's export all our visuals into another sheet. So this one, 3 data points, incident by basically incident types. Okay, we're gonna have it in terms of donor charts. Let's import the donor chart. Let's go here, import a donor chart, and this for incident by department. Okay, and then we're gonna also this one is gonna be a pie chart. So let's import a pie chart. Okay, and then this one is gonna be a bar chart. So let's quickly do that bar chart. Okay, we'll do something here. All right, so once we are done, we're gonna do a lot of interesting visuals. This one is gonna be let's see, for now let's use column chart, because we used some basically unconventional charts that we did. It was an icon, right, male and female icon that we use for this. So we're gonna do exactly that. Okay, and then this one is actually a column chart. So let's put all of that into our dashboard. Okay, so let's quickly copy this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're gonna cut them, and then we go to a new sheet and paste them in here. Now, because we are going to be introducing those max highlights in the pivot table, is going to update automatically. So we don't even have to bring those visuals in there to see. It's going to update automatically. Okay, so with visuals like this, we have all of these buttons showing. So we need to just get rid of all of them. We click on pivot table analyze, and we click on the fill buttons to make sure that they're all been removed. They've all been removed. So we do it for this one also. Do it for this one as well. And we do it for this. So this age group is going to be here. Male and female. So incident by gender is going to be here. This one is for the incident, injury types, incident type. And then department is going to be here. And percentage contribution of body parts is also going to be here. Okay. So we are done. We've introduced this max. We're going to introduce max for this. Now, this one, we are not introducing max. We are literally just going to bring the percentage like a target, which is 100, because they're already in percentage. We want to bring a target of 100 in here. So let's go back to our pivot, power pivots. We go to measure, and then we create a new measure. We just want a percentage, 100% as the maximum. So what we do is that we say percentage of total incidents. So percentage of total injuries is just going to be, we're going to use a divide and say that total injury divided by total injury, right? And that's basically it. We check everything is correct. Number, we make sure it's percentage. We remove the decimal place. And then we close. So we're going to bring that in here. So we open the pivot field, right click, go to show field list, and then bring the percentage of total injuries. So that's basically what we have here. So when we come to our visual, you notice that has been introduced in here automatically, all right? So we'll be cleaning up and designing our measures properly, right? Or our chart or our visual properly. So we move on to the next, which is for this one. We're going to look for the max of this. We come back, that's for age group, this very one. So we go to power pivot again. And we create a new measure. And this one's max of age group. And we are going to use, now this is a categorical data. So it has its own approach of creating the max. We start with the summarize. We need to summarize it, the source data, and create a new table. And basically we're looking at the age group. And we are saying that we need to create a new column and call it age group incidents, right? Okay, and then within that group, we want count rows. Just count rows of the source data. Okay. And that's the first argument. And then we introduce a max X, which is to go in to our new summarize table to now calculate. So this is a table to calculate the new department that we've introduced, which is age group incidents. Okay, and then we close parentheses. And then we're going to introduce a calculate function. So the calculate helps us to put a filter context to it. So the filter context is all of the source data. All right, so we're going to basically say all. All right, so that's pretty much what it is. We check, there's no issue. We come to number, we remove the whole number, is basically whole number, and we click OK. So that is going to introduce a max right here. So when we come to the pivot table, we open the pivot table, we can then introduce a max, and that is basically it. So the max is 41, as you can see. So what we're going to do next is that we are going to use the if statement to ensure that if this is equal to this, should return that. All right, so come to power pivot, manage relationship, new measure. We go to age group highlights. And then we're going to say if total incidents, I keep saying total, if total injuries is equal to max of age group, it should return marks of age group. If not, it should return blank. All right, we check, no issue. It's a whole number and hit OK. So that is what we're going to introduce here. So I'll just open the pivot field. I'll uncheck the marks and I'll bring the highlights rather. So that is basically what it is. If you come here, automatically it's going to register in our table. So that's right there. Okay, so we've been able to introduce all of these marks in here. Now the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to rename all our all of our these stuff. We're going to rename them. We're going to make sure we hard code them properly. So once we select this, we can properly insert the name and everything. But when we do that, what's going to happen is that once we apply the filter, this is going to be changing here and there. I mean, based on the type of filter that we apply. Maybe if it's not based on body pattern, but for now, just to exercise precaution, we are going to use a trim range again, because fair enough, if we introduce a department filter and we apply filter, I mean, it could reduce. For example, let's check again. Let's introduce department, because we're going to be using department as filter or as a slicer. So let's bring in department slicer. Okay, and once we apply, for example, maintenance, okay, let's connect report connection for all of them. Okay, so you see how it adjusts. Okay, if you select this, it's going to move. Some of them are going to vanish and all of that. So we don't really want to distort the arrangement. So what we're going to do is that we are literally going to copy this, because this is the entire list. We're going to copy everything. We're going to paste it here. We're going to use a VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP. Because if I use trim range, what it means is that it's still going to be exactly the same table. And once you click on the slicer, it's going to distort. Some of them are going to vanish out of the table, because it's a dynamic array. A trim range has a spill effect, and that produces a dynamic array that is based on the pivot tables array. So once the pivot table changes, automatically it's going to be changing. But we don't want that. We just want this one to be fixed. So we use a VLOOKUP. We reference this one, this entire table, and then we're going to basically reference the column, which is this one, which is column number 2, and then we want an exact match. Okay, so that's 11, and then we want to make sure that we lock this range. So F4 to lock. Oops, what did I do? Okay, F4 and F4 for this one as well. Okay, then we can drag this down, and then we are saying if error, it should return 0, because usually whenever we create this and there's no reference, or the reference vanishes, it's going to give us an error. We don't want that. So it should give us 0. So once I click this, you see that the 0 that we have, this 0 that we have, simply means that there is no head injury here. There's no head. Basically, there was never a head injury, and for that reason, it should give me 0. So we are sort of fixing this one here, and then we just want to dynamically produce the values here. So this is what now we are going to name them properly. So to name some of these cells, we can look at this one. We are naming them by their parameter, so the arm. So this one is going to be for arm. I'm going to type arm there. Back is going to be for back. And then this one is for face. And then this one is for fingers or finger. This one is for hand. This one is for head. And then this one is for leg. There's a reason why we are doing it this way, because once we start connecting, our text boxes to these stuff, we don't want to be, checking which one is it exactly. Once we click on it, we're going to know that it's arm and all of that. So you're going to understand exactly why we are doing that. Okay. So we have our highlights here. We have our marks here. And we have the highlights here. Over here, we want to introduce another type of visual, which is not based on number. So we need to convert this to, basically percentage of the grand total so that they're all equal to 100%. Okay, so sort, we want percentage of the grand total, and then we're going to remove the decimal. So with this type of visual, we can then, there's going to be like the max, which is always 100% for both of them. All right. And with regards to what we are trying to do, it is important that we bring the maximum in there. So I'm going to bring the maximum of the percentage injury that we introduced. So I bring it in here, right? So we're going to have this one being compared against the 100%. This also being compared against the 100%. That's similar to what we did here, bringing in the 100% so that we can then show that the 100% is the target, and this is like sort of the actual whatever. You get it? Yes. So once we come here, we see it has been introduced. All right. So what we're going to do is that we're going to basically bring in our KPI cards as well. So these ones are for our KPI cards. Now, with regards to KPI cards, I think we created another measure for percentage of unsafe condition, right? So let's go and check what's happening. Percentage unsafe condition. So there we have it. It's now back. So this one will be for injuries. So let's name it properly. This one is for injuries. This one is for lost days. Okay, you don't have to bring in SP. So whenever you're naming anything, you don't have to bring SP. So lost days. And then this one will be for unsafe acts. We just call it acts. Okay. This one will be condition. Unsafe condition. So we just want to use condition. Okay. And that's pretty much it. So we just go to our sheet here. We introduce the text box over here for our KPI cards. All right. So the reason why we are using the names basically in our to properly name the cell. All right. It's just because we want to use the equal sign and then select. So the first one is injury, right? There we have it. So we double click and the figure just comes straight away. Control C, Control V. The other one is lost days, right? So lost days. So there we have it. We double click on it and then we hit enter. Control C, Control V. This one is act equal to, okay, they use the equal sign. You sort of pick the name. So we named it a act, right? And then Control C, Control V. This is gonna be for condition. We called it condition. So there we have it. So you see how we are able to quickly pull up these figures without really having to go look at exactly which one we are selecting from. So that is really relevant when we are trying to bring in the, these names. So once we click on it, we can see within the formula bar this one is exactly for injuries. Okay. So now let's bring in our body part. So body part also, we're gonna quickly pull all of them in. So we have head. Okay. We have Control C, Control V. We have, and then we can even be inferring from here. So we need to bring in the leg. Okay. Control C, Control V. The next is hand. And then we need to bring in finger as well. And then face. Control C, Control V. And then back and arms. Okay. Control C, Control V. Back. And then arm. All right. So now when we bring in the body map, okay, or the human body, right, we don't really have to go back and be cross-checking which one exactly it is, which one exactly is this. So we just have to click on it and we look in the formula bar and we know what exactly we are selecting. Okay. So I think that we brought in all these visuals. We need to start cleaning up, our chart. So let's quickly format this. And then we are going to make this one. This one is going to be the secondary axis. It has to be in front of this one. And then we are going to increase, but before that, let's just undo. Okay, let's try to increase the size a little bit. Okay, let's increase the size by reducing like this so that all of them can actually be moved together. And then we make this one the secondary axis, so it becomes like this. And then we would sort of change the color of this. So the color we would have to infer from our colors that we've been building. So let's go back to our wireframe. So create a new slide. Okay, new slide. We're going to remove all of this, Control all and delete. Then we introduce our slide. The reason why I like to introduce slides, sometimes you may want to have a gradient fill and everything, but with this background, I mean, sometimes it's just a waste of time trying to do that. So let's just bring in our background, which is this one. And then the color is basically white. Okay, so I just, check it and I'll put it over here. I mean, I use a paintbrush and then I'll paste it here. Okay, and then we brought in basically a rounded rectangle. So we go to insert, we come here and then we sort of create a rounded rectangle. And then we reduce the rounded edges a little bit and we bring it in here. We position like this. Okay. And then this color is different. It's basically this color at the back, all right? So the color scheme is a matter of choice. You have to find out the color that you like and everything. I mean, that's the essence of, trying to be creative with your own dashboard, okay? And then we're going to create a duplicate of it and we're going to resize it. So it's going to come in a little bit and then we would bring it in again like this, okay? Just resize like this. So that has a different color and that's this very one. So I just bring it in like this. And then we will start to create this kind of background. So it's the same rounded, rectangle like this. We start to create. One is going to be for the body parts. And then we're going to create other ones based on the number of charts that we have. So we have a total of about 6 charts. Okay, Control C, Control V, like this. Basically, that's what we did. And then we brought those down. So we needed to make room for these other ones. Okay, so we're gonna do this and align to the top. And then we will make room for this. Then Control C, Control V. We'll do the same thing for this. And then we, work on our KPI cards. So that's a total of about 4, right? So 3 over here. Okay, and then we have the bigger one. This was the bigger one. And because we have a lot of, space, what we did was that we tried to, increase the size a little bit like this. Okay. Exactly. And then we sort of made it look like this. Okay. So that's pretty much what we have here. And then we would sort of copy this and paste it on all of them. Okay. Like this. And then with this one, we use this one again and pasted it here. And then we created another background for it. So, we just brought this one forward. Bring forward or bring in front. And then the one at the back will be much bigger. So we let it come out a little bit like this. And then we resize. You get it. So that's basically how we created the wireframe. And then we brought in, the navigation bar. So that is also a rounded corner. So we just brought it in like this. And then we did a little bit round. So we try to resize it a little bit like this and, let it look nice, however you want it. So with this one, we brought in shadow. So we just go to shadow. You just go to shadow and then you remove the outline. There'll be no outline. The fill is going to be the color that is appropriate. So let's just pick this color. and paste it here. So as you can see, we've literally replicated this. With a little variation, we just have to resize and everything. So let's delete this. Okay, we are going with this. I'm just going to control everything, Control C, and I'll bring it to my Excel sheets. So I'll just paste here. But before that, let me just group it because I don't want to group it together with the other ones. I just want to be careful. So Control C, and then I'll come to my Excel sheet, paste it here, and I'll send it to the back. Okay, send to the back. So what it means is that once I start to bring it here, automatically it's not gonna be, distorting the arrangement of my visuals. So everything is gonna be here straight away. So I'll start to resize nicely. I'll remove these stuff, okay, because they're not relevant. One is just a helper column. The legend, I mean. So I'll just remove this one also. Remove the grid lines. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this one a secondary axis. So this one is going to be on top of the other. And then I'll bring in these ones as well. I don't need the legend. Okay. I don't need, the axis as well. And that is okay. So we just resize nicely over here. And then we do the same thing for this also. And I'll remove this one. Okay, so I make this one the secondary axis. So you just click and go to format data series and make it secondary. Okay, I'll remove this one, remove the grid line, remove this, percentage as well. Okay, so things are beginning to take shape, right? The next thing we're going to do is to, resize this one as well. But with this one, there's a way, a solution we introduce, okay? We remove all those legends, okay? And what we are going to do is that we're going to bring in we don't change to secondary axis yet. We need to do something. This one, let's resize it, nicely. And then this one as well. Now the good thing about creating these wireframe is just it helps us to really align the visual within the the layout without really thinking too much about the exact sizes of the chart. Okay, so we can then go to no outline, no fill, no format, right? No outline, no fill, no outline, no fill. Over here as well, no outline, no fill. No outline, no fill. Okay. No outline, no fill. No outline, no fill. Okay, so that's basically, we're going to remove this one. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to insert our icons. So let's start with the female first. So that's going to take some time to load. And female, you're going to go for this. And let's do male. And with male also, we're going to go for this. All right. So we're going to insert all of this in there. All right. So what we are going to do is that we're going to create, copies of this. So the first one is going to be a solid fill. So we already have our colors in there. So this one is for the male. This one is for the female. Now, in terms of the colors, you can just use a color picker, to pick the colors, basically. So what we usually do is the fact that we go to the sites like this. We already introduced these colors in here, right? So just going to go to format and come to where we can actually pick the hex code, Control C, and then we come to the website. Basically, the website we're looking at is the htmlcolorcodes.com. And we just paste it in there. So that sort of gives us the various sheets of colors we can use for our visuals or our dashboard. So go back to the Excel file. And then over here, we are going to use the outline. So we're just going to do basically we're going to use a white fill. Over here also we're going to use a white fill, okay. And then the outline is going to be like this, okay. So we're going to, first and foremost, we need to go and activate the picture, the picture fill. So we need to click on it like this, and over here as well we need to click on it like this so that it's active, okay, so that we can have those options to filter. So let's put this one at the back, and then we put this one also at the back, and then this one, Control C, we double click on this series, and then we paste it in there. So that's pretty much what we have. We can hide this one. So we right click, we go to format data series. Now the picture is active. When we come here, you'll notice the picture is active. So what we're going to choose is that we're going to select stack and scale with only 1 unit, okay, for both of them. And over here also stack and scale with only 1 unit, okay. And then what we're going to do next is that we're going to overlap the series. We're going to overlap everything to 100%, and we don't want any gap, okay. So that's but before that, let's do something. This one will be a secondary axis, so let's ensure that it is a secondary axis, so that will be on top of the other, all right. And we're going to make sure that there's no overlap, and the gap, the width also is complete. Oh man, let us do it for all of them, this one and this one as well, and the other one to 100% overlap, and this one comes this way. So that's pretty much what we've done right now, and we can remove all of these percentages. Now the percentage, you need to make sure is 100%, so we go to format, charts, no, format axis. The axes are all here. I want to make sure that the maximum is 1, okay. That makes it much bigger, and then it starts from 0, so it's 0 to 100 because the maximum target as we put behind is 100, right? So we're going to remove this, and that's sort of brings out this chart. So this color, I think, is almost the same as what we have, and there could be a slight variation anyway. So this one is female, this one is male, so that's exactly what we've done. And we're going to move on to this one, okay. So with this one, we're going to select different variations. Now this chart titles, we're going to remove them. We'll be introducing the one that we can probably just type and position properly as we want, all right, for literally all the visuals. So we'll come to our basically our color codes, okay, and then we start off selecting. We need to be consistent, okay. I think that we're gonna go in for this and lighter and the other lighter one, okay. So let's do something. Okay, I think we may probably want to change this, but we can do that later on. Okay, so we're gonna right click, and then we click on one data point like this, and we would just fill. So the fill is gonna be this same fill, and then the other one is gonna be like format data point, and we're gonna use a lighter one like this, okay. And then we're gonna use a much lighter one like this. So the colors may not be the same 100% because I wasn't really taking my time to do this one, but at least we are getting there. So this one is this one like this, and then we're gonna do the same thing for this. Now we already have the colors in there, so we're just gonna repeat the same thing. This is for the deeper one, okay. This data points is for the lighter one, and this data point is for, or let's make this one lighter and make this one, sorry, not, we're gonna use a fill, so this one should be the lighter one, and this one should be okay, slightly darker, okay. So we have it like this. We're gonna do the same thing for this. So this is our secondary axis. So this one is gonna be the deeper one, and then these ones are going to be the lighter one. Okay, and then we're going to do for this one as well. This one's going to be the deeper one, and then the rest are going to be the lighter one. And then with the background, so this one is going to be light. Okay, let's choose the lighter one. And then we're going to go in for a much lighter background. Okay, so let's go back here and just select this one. Maybe this one is better. Okay, we come back to our charts, and then this one we're going to select a much lighter color. Okay, but what we're going to do is that we're going to introduce, have a solid border line, right? And then we're going to increase it a little bit. So there we have it. Let's reduce it a little bit. So basically the border should be around, let's say 3. Okay, there's a grid line in the middle. We need to remove the grid line. I think I forgot to remove this grid line. Let's remove the grid line. Okay, so now let's literally arrange everything in smaller, from smaller to larger. Let's sort from smallest to the larger. Smallest to larger. Sort from smallest to largest. And this one as well, smallest to larger. Okay, all right, so when we come here, we can see that things are beginning to shape up properly for us. So this is the dashboard, and we need to now introduce our basically our KPI card. So we're just gonna resize it nicely, increase it a little bit, center it properly, give it a very nice color. So that's gonna be like font color is gonna be something like this. We're gonna use Segway UI. And then we're gonna make it bold. We're gonna choose a font size, maybe 32 or 28 or something. So this is okay. Okay. Let's go for this. Yeah, this is better. Okay. And then this one will be for total injuries. This one will be for lost work days. This one will be for unsafe acts, unsafe conditions, right? So we're just gonna select all of them, align it properly, put it in the middle, and then we are going to make sure that they are properly aligned. So we're just gonna bring it a little bit here like this. Same with this one. Okay, so let's just put it in the middle again. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna remove the background. So no fill, no shape, no outline, something like this. Okay, and then the same thing with this one. I'm gonna remove the fill and the background, but this one has to be I think the color is okay, not bad. This is exactly what we used. Okay, so the next thing is that we're gonna introduce our slicer. So this is our slicer. There's a department slicer which we're gonna bring in here, and it's gonna be something like this. Okay, and then we're gonna introduce the number of columns, 1 2 3 4. There are how many are they? 1 2 3 4. Okay, so we're gonna basically remove this blank. So the blank should hide. If there's no value, the blank should go. Okay, so I think we need a little bit of space. So let's just resize this a little bit, and let it go up slightly, and this one can go up slightly like this, and then we can bring this one in here, and then resize a little bit. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to slicer setting. We're gonna create a duplicate, and we're gonna call it dashboard. I'm gonna hit OK. All right, so basically we come again and now we have it in there. We modify the slicer. So what we're going to do is that we're going to pick the background of this one. So we double click on this. We come to the format pane over here, and then we use the hex code. So I'm going to Control C and hit OK. I come here, I modify, the chart. So the whole slicer background, we want to change it. You come here, more, we go to custom, and then we paste it in there. I also don't need the border lines or the outline. We don't need that. And then the header. Okay, the header could be a different color. We'll do that later on. So let's just hit OK. Let's come back and select. So as you can see, we've been able to ensure that the background, sort of fits our, background of the dashboard. So what we're going to do is that we are now going to give the same colors, right? The same colors as this. So these colors, we already have them. So we just come here and then, pick the hex code, Control C and close, and we come back again, go to slicer, modify slicer. Then we are going to selected item with data. So over here, we are going to change the field to this. Okay, and then the font is going to be white. And that is pretty much it. Okay, so yet it's okay, and then that's what we have in here. So this one is going to be the same color as this one. So we go back, modify, and go to header. So the header, we change this from black to this. All right, and that's it. So now I think we should even make it bold. So we go back, modify the slicer, we go to the header, we format, we go to font, and we choose a bold font. Okay, so that's it, right? We've been able to now introduce this. So let's just align it properly in here and resize. So we can actually increase the size of the width, just the size of the width for the buttons. Okay, not this one. Okay, let's just resize that. I think we are good with the size for now. I don't know why is the size trying to, why do you have so much big space here? Let's see what we can do. That has to be the width. And this one. Okay, doesn't want to allow us, but that's fine. Okay, it's all good. Okay, so whatever permitters is what we work with. Okay, I was trying to let it extend further to fill the entire space, but it looks like I'm not getting it. I'm not able to do that. Okay, so that should be the buttons right? But still extending the size of the slicer. Because usually with this one, you can go like this, but it doesn't want to go sideways. But this one is for this, actually the slicer outline, right? But it's okay. Let me just save my work. Now the next I'm going to do is that I'm going to introduce another chart, okay? And that is going to be for the month, okay? The month. So let's do that, right? So let's paste it here. We have some more space. Let's, format, go to show field list, and then on check body part, and we're going to use the month. All right, so the month, I'm going to use the date here. And unfortunately, it's going to distort the arrangement. So let's just undo. It's like we don't have enough space for that. So let's just Control C and come over here and paste it down here. Okay. Because sometimes when you're trying to introduce month and you're not careful, it's going to, extend it all the way. So we have the month here. Okay. Let's remove the other month. Let's remove this and let's group the dates. Okay. So group the dates by month only. And that is what we have in there. Let's remove this other date from the column. I could use the calendar table anyway. I could use a calendar table. Let's try to use a calendar table and let's see. And instead of this date, we can use the calendar month. We just bring the month in here. But there's a problem. There's a problem with this. It's giving us the same value. And the reason is simple. The relationship, if you go to, manage relationship, and we come to design, we come to, basically diagram view, we see that we are sort of connecting. We've connected, but the only thing is that it's going this way, it's going the other direction. Okay. So edit relationship. I'm not able to change the direction of this. Okay, so maybe this one should be source. Okay, this is date and date. So this one should be calendar and source data. This one is source data. I want to find a way of changing it. So let's go to the, instead of diagram view, let's go to date view. Diagram view, manage relationship. And then we're going to go to edit relationship. It's the same thing. So I'm not able to change the direction because I'm not finding the source data here, so that here could be the calendar table, so that the direction changes. So that is basically what it is. Let's look at this also. This source data to department. So that is the challenge we are having with this model for some reason, and that's the reason we are not using the calendar table. So let's just ignore this for now. Okay, and focus on this one. All right, so this is similar to using any of the column headers, but we are using the explicit measure to sort of estimate or populate our table. All right, so this one we're going to insert a column chart. Okay, so let's go to column and insert this one. Go to format and remove the bottoms. Okay, and then we'll remove all of this. We'll remove this one as well. Remove, the y-axis and this one as well. We're gonna remove everything, and then we resize it nicely. And then we're gonna cut and bring it in here. We paste it right here. We bring it up over here, and then we would remove the fill, remove the outline, and then change the color to the lighter one. It's gonna be the lighter one. So let's pick the lighter hair's color. Control C. And then we click on this and then ensure that we fill it. Okay, so it's already there, right? So that's pretty much it. And then we're gonna bring in our, our image. Okay, so basically, if you want to find some body parts, come to, freepick.com. All right, so freepick.com has a lot of images that are free to download. My internet is not good enough. It's still a bit slow, but let's see how it goes. Still taking some time to load. Okay, so instead of wasting time, let me quickly go back to our dashboard and insert our visual. So I have it already downloaded, so I'm just going to go to pictures and import place over. All right, so place over, and I'm going to select from this device. So I already have my visuals, sorry, my pictures. These are safety vector image, human body map, right? So I don't know which one exactly. Okay, so let's see. It's this one. So I literally brought in this one, and that is basically it. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we are going to crop. Okay, so let's just crop and remove the other guy from it. Okay, and then we're gonna select this, and I'll remove the background. So just come to picture, remove the background. So with regards to removing background, let's make it bigger a little bit, and we're gonna select mark areas that we want to keep. So we want to keep here, we want to keep the head, we want to keep the hand, we want to keep the finger, we want to keep, so every part that is important, we want to make sure we click on it to keep. Okay, so we're gonna keep all of that. I think we are literally done. Okay, so we have sort of selected all, and that's it. We keep changing. So that's what we have in here. We come to, format picture, and we come to color. Okay, and we come here and we select this very one. So that's the visual we use. Okay, and there we have it. So basically, what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to introduce a circle. So we go to insert, we bring in our circle, we bring it in here, remove the outline of it, and then we give it the color as the color as this one. So we're gonna be using this very color. Okay, so we come here and then okay, so we already have the colors. Okay, let's select it and come here and choose this color. So this is the color that we used. Okay, so let me just reduce the size of the dashboard so that we can see clearly. All right, so this is the color I used for basically the chart. Okay, so let's just make sure that there's no outline, or let's give it an outline, or the outline has to be the same color. Okay, and then we would resize it a little bit so that it will sort of fix. But when we are trying to resize, you can hit the shift key so you can get the exact size while trying to resize. So let me just check the dimension, the aspect ratio, right? It's supposed to be the same, but for some reason this my computer, it doesn't allow me to pick the same size. So I think this is yes, so now we have it. So I'm just going to increase it a little bit. Okay, this is okay. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make several copies of it. So that's like a total of about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 body parts, right? I did a mistake. I think the head didn't show properly. You see, the head didn't show properly. So let's undo. Let's format this. The picture, we need to undo it. Reset picture size. Reset picture size. Let's do it again. Crop it first. And then remove background. And then mark areas to keep. We need to make sure we select it properly. Let's increase the size so that you can see. Okay, I think we are good. All right, we are good. So keep changing. So that's it. Now we've done it. Okay. Yes, and then we go to artistic view and artistic effects. We choose something like this. So this is what we choose. Let's see. Yeah. So basically something like this, the lighter one. That's what we choose. Okay. So that's pretty much it. Let's resize it nicely. And then try to go back. All right. And then we would make sure that we create various copies of this. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to select all of them. Okay, so the challenge we're having is that the sizes are not consistent. So I just have to make sure I do it all over again. Okay, let's focus on one first. We need to make sure that the size is the same. So I'll reduce a little bit and just Okay, I think it's literally the same. And then we just go to size and property and lock aspect ratio. We're gonna lock it. So when we are trying to size, it doesn't sort of distort. Okay. So this is something I'm supposed to move very fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. Okay, that's a total of 7. I'm going to, quickly center a, put in the middle, change the font to Segway UI, and then make the font. Oh, it's going to be white, no fill, no outline. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make here darker so that I can see the background a little bit. Okay, so these ones are here. Let me just bring them out. Oops. This one is here. This one is here. Yeah, so there we have it. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I will bring it in front. So bring in front. Okay, and I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One for each of them. One for each of them. Okay, so we said bring in front, right? So let's do it again. 1, 2. This one should go back, and then send back. Let's do send back. So this one and this one we just select and shape, align center, align middle. Okay, but before we even do that, we need to check the font. We need to make it bold. Okay, so let's quickly make all of the font bold and nice. Bold. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So this one supposed to be grouped. So we're gonna align again, align to the middle, and I'm gonna group. Okay, then this one and this one also, I'm gonna quickly go to shape, align center, align middle, and group. This one also format shape, align center, align middle, and group. So this one can come here somewhere, replace this one somewhere, replace this one somewhere. Okay, the same thing with this. Align center, align middle, and group. This one come somewhere here. Align middle and group. Okay, so where did the rest go? Okay, let's undo and see. Where did the rest go? I grouped it with another one. Okay, I see. I think I was grouping them with this. Align center and group. Okay. And then we're gonna group that. Okay, so we are sort of done. So we can now get rid of this color. Okay, fill, and then we're gonna remove the grid. So let's just remove the grid for now, because we're gonna remove it anyway. So what we are supposed to do next is to just look at this. Is if I double click this for finger, right? So I need to just try to arrange them properly. This one is face, so face can be somewhere here. Finger can be somewhere here. I double click to see the middle part. Back could be somewhere here. Hand, okay, hand could be somewhere here. I'll just arrange them properly again. Yeah, so head will be at the top here. This one is arms, so arms will be somewhere here. Now the sizes still look a little bit big, so let's try to resize it small. So just control, I'm gonna hit the shift key. I'm gonna just slowly resize. Okay, and that is better, but the size is not looking exactly round. Okay, for some reason, because it's so annoying sometimes when you're trying to resize rounded corners. Okay, so let's put the hand here. Let's put, let's bring the back here. There's the back, and then let's put, the head here. Let's put the face here. Let's put this for foot. Okay, let's put the finger here, and let's put the arm here. Right, so that's pretty much it. So what we're gonna do next is that we're gonna introduce another shape. So this shape is gonna be this shape. This is the shape you're gonna be using. I just want to make sure it's a lighter color, so we're gonna choose something like this. Okay, and then we're gonna introduce another shape also to identify that very spot that has the injury. So you're gonna have another round. So this round, whilst you are doing the round, we need to hit the shift key so that it doesn't distort, and then we're gonna fill it. We go to shape fill. Okay, shape fill, format shape, and then we're gonna fill it with selector this one. We're gonna click on it again. We go to shape fill, and I'm gonna select this one. Now I want to have a white outline. Okay, so I'll just right click on it, size and property. I'm going to unlock aspect ratio. So basically I'm going to make 7 copies of this. Okay, Control C, Control V, 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, yes, so I'll just give this one. This one is for the leg. It's still big a little. You can resize it if you want. This one is for the finger. This one is for the arm. This one is for the face. This one is for the head. And this one is for the hand. Okay, and this one is for the back. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, right? So let's basically, it looks bigger still, so we can try to resize it a little bit. Okay, so let's see. Okay, that's better, right? Not bad. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna use this one. This one must be in front, so we just move it forward. We're gonna make 7 copies of this. So Control C, 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so this one is basically to connect to this. So we just point it here first, then we resize and then connect it. Okay, and then we're gonna do for the other ones as well. So we just choose one, connect it to this, and then we would come here and then resize properly and connect. Okay, so you can do it however makes it feel good. And then we're gonna select this also, connect it to this, and then connect it to this one as well. All right, so we can make sure that it looks nicer when you're done. Okay, so we can do this one also, and then resize it nicely. And this one is for the hand. Okay, and this one will be for the back. So there's the back, and we're gonna select this and connect it to this. Okay, so that's, and then the last one is for the head. This one is for the head, and we just connect it to this. Okay, so we've sort of connected all of them. Let's try to, resize properly. So that is pretty much, the injury to, the body parts injured. All right, so that's it, guys. And then the next thing we're going to do is that we are going to introduce our, a lot of the icons. So let's start off looking for some nice icons to use. Okay, so let's just import what we have for now. We're going to go look for the rest later on. So we just resize this a little bit, and then we can just, basically fill with, the outline. So basically with this one, what we did was that we did an outline. So let's group them, let's size them a little bit. Okay, it's okay. We'll bring them in front, and then we can bring them here. Okay, so the size we can reduce it a little bit, and then we do outline. We undo and we do the outline. Yes, so the outline. So this one will be here. This one will be here. This one will be here. We're gonna change that later on. This one will be here. This one will be here. And this one will be here. Okay, so we're gonna align them properly. Align to the middle, and that's okay. And the next thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna, basically this color that we use for this visual format. Okay, that's this one. Control C. We're gonna use that for this. So we're gonna use the same, not this one. Okay. And we're gonna apply this paint on this and this. So we just have to reduce the size a little bit. This one could be somewhere here. The home will be here, and then we'll bring in another one up there. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be doing is to introduce our text box for the chat titles. Okay. No fill, no outline. We're going to type in total injuries. So this is for total injuries. And then we would make sure it's bold. It's basically Segway UI. We're gonna be using this font. Let's choose a dark one. This one. Yes, so that's pretty much it. Control C, Control V. We bring it here. Control Z, Control V. Bring it here. Control Z, Control V. We bring it here. And then bring this one here as well. And then we bring this one here also. This one. This one. Okay. So now that we have that introduced, we would then have to simply align them properly. So this one, I think it has to be a little bit small. Okay, that's better. You can shift it to the left. And this one, we need to align them properly. So let's do that right away. Align to the middle. Okay, so this one is lost work days. This one is unsafe acts. This one is incident types. Injury types. This one is injury by gender. Injuries by gender. Injuries by department. Body parts injured. And then injuries by age group. Okay, so we are almost there. We bring in the data labels. Okay, add data label, and then also these ones we leave them like that. Okay, and we introduce another icon, so we are left with two more icons. Okay, this one we need to push a little bit up. All right, and then these stuff we need to align them properly, or let's let them come down a little bit. Okay, so we are almost there. All right, what else are we supposed to do? So it's left with one icon here and then the chat title. All right, so the chat title is very important. Control C, Control V, we bring it in here and we type it. Injury analysis dashboard. So this one is a very big text, right? I think it's about 40, not bold. And then we just resize it nicely. Now with this column, chat title, I don't remember. I think it's Calibri, right? Maybe it's Calibri. Yes, it was Calibri. So we can make it a little bold. We didn't make it bold. We just left it like this and we just increase it. So this is okay. Injury analysis dashboard. And then we're going to introduce another one, which is to explain the purpose of the dashboard. Okay. And that is also Calibri, or it could be anything. A comparative analysis of workplace injuries by department. So whatever you want to write, you can actually write. So that's okay. To put context to what the dashboard is about. So there we have it, guys. We are getting closer to the end of this video. Okay, And let's bring it down a little. Okay. Okay, I think we're almost there. So let's go and fish some icons once again. So left with, let's see if I can find it. Shield. Okay, so if I don't find it, I'll just find any random icon that we could use. Okay. I can't find the injured person now. Injured. Where are you? Injured. BY distort my camera. Okay, so I can't find the injured person for some reason. That's crazy. Yeah, man. I couldn't find injured person. When I type injured person, nothing pops up. Injured person. Oh, finally, I found you. Okay. And then we're just going to use a random, I found this as well. Yes, perfect. Okay, I found all of them. So let's insert that. All right, so this one, I'm just going to copy the same format and double click, paste on it, reduce the size a little bit. Injured person is a different, font. Different color. I just copy this and paste over it. Okay, and then I'll resize a little bit and bring it in here. Oh, there's one that I also missed, but of course we can do that later on by yourself if you want to. So just put this one in here. I resize it a little bit nicely, and then I just make sure that they are properly centered. Yes, so that is it, guys. Been able to create the same version of the chart. As we can see, the only thing we missed is another icon here, but it's going to take a longer time if you have to find that icon. So now that I'm done, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to control all. Okay, control all. I'm saving my work first. Control all, then I'll group everything. Okay, and then I'm just gonna make sure that it doesn't size with cell. the size cell is moving. Yes. So we've created, another variation. The color may not be consistent all entirely. Oh, okay. So that's it. It's switching between male and female for some reason. That's interesting. Okay, that's it, guys. As we can see, this is dynamic. Okay. Yes, guys. So there we have it. We're able to create this dashboard. It hasn't been an easy journey. If you're able to make it to this end, congratulations. You have done very well. And I hope that you're going to practice, this data set. All right. So if you're part of our community, the data set is within our WhatsApp group. If you're also interested, I'm going to put it in the link. But in fact, just join our group and then have access to the community and engage with other people. Now, come this Sunday, we are going to practice the same dashboard. Okay. So this one is just for all of you guys who are outside. But if you want to ask me all the relevant questions, just join our community and participate in our live bootcamp. I'm going to see you guys in another video. Bye for now. Cheers.